So the End of the Light update has been out for a couple weeks now, and I'm here to bring you guys the review that none of you asked for. Honestly, I probably would have come out with this video a lot sooner were it not for Pantheon. As we all know, Bungie likes to time gate their content and release it over time, and I wanted to make sure that Pantheon was what I wanted it to be, so I wanted to make sure that I did week 2 and week 1 of it to just kind of get a feel for what the mode exactly is. And now that some time has passed, I'm here to bring you guys the pros and the cons of this update, at least from my perspective, as well as one massive con that I want to bring up towards the end of the video that I've been meaning to talk about in video form, but haven't really had the opportunity to as of yet. Anyways, before we jump into it, massive thanks to all of you that support via the YouTube memberships and Patreon, and let's just go ahead and jump into it. So starting things off, I want to talk about the biggest part about this update, and that is of course the Onslaught game mode. Now this is the horde mode that the community has been asking for just about 10 years now, and I gotta say that I think Bungie delivered pretty damn well with this game mode. Now, we do have a little bit of variety when it comes to Onslaught in the form of the maps. We have Midtown and Vostok, which are just absolutely fantastic. I'm actually very surprised how well these maps play with Onslaught. And then we have the Cosmodrome map, which exists for some reason. I don't like the way that this map is. It just takes way too long. I don't think it really has a good flow to it, and honestly, really could do without it. So technically, in my mind, Onslaught only has 2 maps, but thankfully they are very good. Now, this mode is not an endless horde mode like a lot of people were hoping for. I don't necessarily have a problem with Onslaught being capped at 50 waves, but I do know that some people are a little bummed out that it does not go to basically as far as you can go. One thing that does really annoy me with this mode is how they try to break up the monotony of defending your ADU. If you don't know, the ADU is basically what you're defending. If it gets destroyed, then you fail. Now, one way that they break up the monotony, which I think is fantastic, is actually the boss fights that you get every 10 waves. You'll go through a portal, you'll go fight a boss, you get some loot, so you kind of get loot as you play throughout the game mode, which I think is a very good design decision instead of just waiting to the end. So I do like the boss fights every 10 waves. What I do not like, though, is the Rift Wave. It's probably the worst thing that Bungie possibly could have added to this mode, because it's just a nothing burger. You go through the rift, you kill some enemies, you pick up a spark, and you dunk it, and that's it. That is all you do. It just exists to make the game take longer for you to get to 50 waves. I don't know who at Bungie thought it was a good idea to interrupt your defenses twice in between 10 waves. I really don't like that. Think the boss wave is good. Really should have done without the whole rift wave thing. Luckily though, this mode does shower you in tons of loot and even incentivizes you for going to wave 50, which I think is pretty cool. You have a ton of weapons over Destiny's history, which all of them are pretty damn good. I mean, there's not many of them that are just outright ass. I do not like the fact that Succession and Hung Jury exist, because Succession, you can run DSC for that literally right now, and Hung Jury, it's been around for a very long time. It came back forever ago, and to see another iteration of it kind of makes me mad. It just, you know, whenever I'm trying to hunt for a god roll, I get a Hung Jury instead. Pretty lame. Speaking of hunting for a god roll, these weapons are not craftable. This is a huge thing for this mode because it actually incentivizes replayability. Instead of playing and getting 5 red borders and then never touching it again, you actually have to grind out for a god roll. And while you're grinding out for these god rolls, you can actually come across shiny versions of these weapons, which basically have this nice gold shine towards the barrel part of it. So it's basically a cosmetic upgrade, but not only that, it does increase your chances of getting the god roll that you want with that specific shiny, because you get a bunch of extra perks, which I think is cool. I absolutely loved whenever the 30th anniversary came around and we had 2 different versions of the energy sword, and I'm really glad to see that Bungie leaned into that with this mode, and I hope that we see more of that in the future. I really enjoy Onslaught a lot. The only downsides are 2 of the weapons out of the weapon set just don't need to be there. The armor is kind of ugly, and the Rift Wave makes me want to go insane. But all in all, Onslaught was one of the best additions to the game that we have ever gotten. But if you really like this game mode and you want it to stay the exact way that it is, Well, Bungie's making a lot of changes for the worst come Final Shape. And don't even ask me why Bungie's doing this stuff, I haven't a clue, but a lot of the stuff with Onslaught is a limited time thing. So the first thing I'm going to talk about, which is the thing that I'm the least upset about, is the fact that shiny weapon variants are going to be going away when the Final Shape comes out. Doesn't really matter to me, they are simply a silly cosmetic thing that most people aren't even going to notice anyways, and it's just kind of a, hey, I was there type drop. Doesn't really matter to me. What does matter a lot to me though is the Hall of Champions social space and the associated quest with it are going away. So the Arcite quests, the armor chest, weapon attunement, all that kind of stuff will no longer be available after June 3rd. And I have to imagine that buying stuff at the chest with Shaxx, so the currency that you get with this event, that's not going to be a thing either. So you'll still be able to play Onslaught, right? It's going to be in the Vanguard Ops playlist, but apparently you won't get tokens that you can spend. So the only thing that you can do is just get your drops during the actual run. And with attunement not around, it's going to be even more annoying. Now, apparently attunement is going to come back, but it's going to come back at a later date. But it's just going to make playing Onslaught just way worse of an experience, you know, once Final Shape comes out, which it just really annoys me because I really like the game mode as a whole. And Bungie's just kind of fumbling the bag here. Like I said, with weapon attunement, that's going to be coming back. A way to get the super black shader is going to come back. The parade armor sets, you know, whether you like them or not, those are going to come back. But I don't understand the, you know, the half sunsetting of this whole game mode. It just makes absolutely zero sense to me and just makes it worse as a whole. Now, moving on to content that Bungie hasn't ruined and isn't going to remove from the game again, we have the exotic missions that have come with this update. We have Whisper and 0 Hour, which are just huge because these are massive requests from the community that they've wanted these back for a while. And currently we have Whisper in the game, 0 Hour to come soon. I'm not exactly the greatest Whisper enjoyer, but man, do I love me some 0 Hour. I mean, fighting in the Destiny 1 tower and scaling the wall of the city and running away from Trevor, 0 Hour, that's my baby, and I can't wait for 0 Hour to come back. But these missions are not only good for nostalgia, but they're also great because craftable versions of Outbreak and Whisper have made their way into the game. Whisper and Outbreak are getting better, especially with Whisper being a meta pick right now. I don't know if you guys play Pantheon or not, but the Whisper is insane for Oryx DPS. You gotta do it. And these missions also came with brand new ships attached to them, and it respects those who earned the originals. So if you play the Whisper, you can actually get a version of that ship which isn't the OG version. And although I do have the OG version of that ship, it wouldn't really have bothered me if Bungie brought that back. But it is kind of cool that they do respect the originals and come out with a brand new ship, which honestly looks a little bit better in my opinion and can be shaded. Moving on, I kind of want to talk about some of the smaller additions with this update before talking about the Big Daddy edition. And the first thing I want to talk about is character customization, because with the End of the Light update, we actually got the ability to change how our character looks without deleting them, which is slightly annoying because I've deleted 2 out of my 3 original Destiny 1 Guardians, but fuck it, we ball. And so anytime you want, you can just right click on your character, change the way they look, change their body type, do whatever you want. And I think that's awesome. This is kind of a change that we've needed for 10 years now, but we got it now. So that's nice. We also had the addition of some new light stuff. So now brand new players to the game can select a kit for them whenever they first start that can kind of give them a few extra items and kind of get them a little bit of a build going. And I'm not exactly sure how great the addition is because I haven't experienced it myself, but I imagine it's probably a plus for the new light community, if there is one, so congratulations. And aside from that, the only other minor addition is the PvP maps. Now, I know that some people might say that this isn't a part of the End of the Light update, but the roadmap says it's a part of the update, so I'm gonna bring it up. We got new PvP maps, and that's cool, I don't play PvP, so that's why I kind of have it in the minor additions category. Not exactly too, crazed about these because I'm probably not going to play them. I actually checked Crucible Tracker the other day. It has been 7.5 months since I have played a game of PvP. So your boy just, not a part of the game I care about. Loot or not, you're really not going to convince me to play it. But anyways, moving on over to the final thing I want to talk about with this update before I get to my big central con is, of course, Pantheon. Now, Pantheon is one of the coolest additions to Destiny since dungeons were added in Forsaken. This is a boss rush game mode where you just fight raid boss after raid boss after raid boss until you make your way to the end, with week 1 being the easiest, and with every week your power gets lower and you are basically gonna eventually end up at the contest mode power level, which is really cool, and it is a perfect way for people to practice before a day 1 raid comes out. My only real gripe with this is, of course, the fact that surge modifiers exist and things to increase your damage output exist, which is really lame because this is supposed to be, or I imagine was supposed to be, a very hardcore-esque game mode. And whenever Solar Surge comes around, for example, with week 2, I actually found that week 2 was easier than week 1 because Gjallarhorn, Apex Predator, Parasite, Whisper, you're not gonna get much better than that. You have Warlock Wells, you have Nighthawk Hunters, and you have the big Hammer Titans with that one exotic where you just do one big slam and do big damage. It's just, I don't like the addition of surges. I really don't like the addition of anything that's going to increase your damage output. But aside from that, you get really cool exclusive emblems for the completions. You get red borders that you might not already have. You get adepts that you might not already have, as well as a really cool title, Godslayer. I think that is a fantastic title for a raid-oriented activity, with the massive con of this specific part of the update being this is also limited time, and that is horrible. Now, I'm not as upset about Pantheon being limited time, and that has to do with a little bit of cope, so just walk with me. Something tells me that Bungie is going to get Pantheon out of this game and eventually re-add it later down the line when Wrath of the Machine is part of Destiny 2. Nobody can convince me that Bungie isn't going to be adding Wrath before Destiny 3 comes out. Something tells me that the Final Shape is going to come out, we're going to get a raid with Final Shape, the next episode is going to come out, we're going to get a dungeon, episode 2, Wrath of the Machine, and then episode 3, another dungeon. And when Wrath of the Machine comes out, sometime after that, Bungie is going to reintroduce Pantheon as a permanent addition and kind of Age of Triumph-esque that activity where you're able to earn armor that is upgraded from its base version like Age of Triumph, and the rewards are going to be great. There's going to be emblems and all this kind of stuff that's going to be tied to it. That is personally what I think. I do not think that Bungie is stupid enough to get rid of Pantheon and not add something back in its place, at least later down the line. Am I upset that they're not just keeping it in the game and updating as time goes on? Yes, but Bungie for some reason feels like they need to remove it, and hopefully that reason is good. Either way, it kind of sucks donkey balls. And speaking of sucking donkey balls, this is my major con, my number one con with this update as a whole, my biggest issue with Into the Light. And that is the fact that updates of this quality do not come to the game unless Bungie has their backs against the wall, and that just sucks. I really wish that we could get content like Into the Light without Bungie first needing to nearly go bankrupt, or without Bungie needing to fire a bunch of employees, or without Bungie needing to go into panic mode, because we have seen it so many times, and the Into the Light update is just another part of the cycle. Destiny 1 comes out. Extremely underwhelming, but everybody understands that the potential is there. The Taken King comes out. It remedies all of those issues. Taken King, oh my goodness, this is Destiny at its peak. So glad to have it. Destiny 2 comes out. We're like, man, it's gonna be great. Bungie's gonna use everything they learned from the first game and apply it to the second game. And Destiny 2 doesn't even have private matches for PvP when it comes out. I mean, do my Destiny 1 OGs remember asking for private matches in D1 for years? We finally got them, and then Destiny 2 comes out, and it's so bare bones, we don't even have private matches anymore? I mean, we didn't have random rolls. We didn't have a proper end game because the best way to level up in Destiny 2 was running public events. So Destiny 2 comes out. It's horrible, even worse than Destiny 1. It sucks ass. Then the next DLC comes out, Curse of Osiris. It's even worse. I actually quit the game when Curse of Osiris came out, only to come back years later. And whenever Curse of Osiris came out, Bungie even said themselves that they were nearing shutting the game down. It was that bad. But they put on their big boy britches and realized, we should probably do something good for the consumer and get off our asses. So they come out with Warmind, which in my opinion, pretty underrated. But then they come out with Forsaken. Ah yes, repeating exactly what they did with Destiny 1, the game is trash and now it's good. Forsaken was great. Then they come out with Shadowkeep. Shadowkeep, extremely underwhelming. Not what people were really caring for, but we'll give them a pass. Beyond Light comes out. It's pretty horrible. It gets rid of a lot of content. The campaign wasn't really that good. It was just a complete hellscape of a DLC because there wasn't much loot. There wasn't much to do in the game. Bungie is at an all-time low, just about. Not exactly as bad as Curse of Osiris. And then they come out with Witch Queen. Oh man, this is like the best campaign we've ever seen. This is really good. Witch Queen. I like this DLC. This is top notch. It's not Forsaken, but it's close. And then we get Lightfall. Things are just down in the dumps. So bad, in fact, that the final shape was looking like no matter what, people didn't want anything to do with it because of how terrible Lightfall was. And so out of nowhere, when nobody's playing the game, Bungie just, in the span of barely any time at all, at least it seems like, put together one of the best updates they have ever released. I mean, this is absolutely on par with Age of Triumph in terms of the quality of this update, the content within it, and how engaging it is. And I really love it. I really love it. But I just hate that it has to be a part of the Destiny cycle where, let's just get it on screen, we're back, we're so gone, we're back again, it's over. It's basically this graph. And it's my #1 complaint with Into the Light, and mainly how Bungie does things as a whole, is because they come out with something good, they sit in mediocrity for a while, they get way too comfortable with what they can get away with, and eventually it bites them in the asses, so then they're forced to make something quote-unquote good again. And it's annoying, man. As a fan of this franchise for 10 years, it's just annoying to see that it's still happening. And honestly, I don't think it's ever gonna end. Final Shape might be really good. I really hope that it is. And then as time goes on, something tells me things are gonna dwindle by a lot. People aren't gonna be that happy. And then Bungie's gonna have to get off their butts and do something really cool for the community. So that's my main con with Into the Light. But as a whole, the update is pretty fantastic. They are absolutely fucking up whenever it comes to Onslaught and whenever it comes to Pantheon being sunset. That is super annoying, but as a whole, the update is very good. I just absolutely hate the circumstances that we got the update under. But anyways, guys, thank you so much for watching this video. Those are all of my thoughts and opinions on this update, and definitely feel free to let me know yours in the comments below. Also, let me know what types of videos you guys want to see from me in the coming days. I appreciate you all so much for watching to the end of the video, and I'll see you all next time.